So many people have asked me to review the Weihrauch HW44 that I thought it was time to take a look. But with other options available, I thought it may be time to do a bit of a comparison as well. Hello and welcome to AAR on Air. Straight away I'm going to upset someone or other either by my pronunciation of the 8th letter of the alphabet or the fact that I didn't compare the HW44 to some other pistol that they thought I should have used. Well, I've chosen the AGT Manul. Why? Because we're talking quality here, and whilst the Manul is a little more expensive, I consider it to be in the same financial ballpark. I should probably pause a moment for the trolls to start in the comments section. Nah. Let's start with the 44 and then take a look at the comparison, differences and personal preferences, shall we? The 44 has been around for quite a while now, and I do remember it when it first came out. The main concerns and gripes that people had was around the price. This has never been cheap. I, for one, don't see why it should be cheap. It is made of high quality materials, very well put together, and very much like a mini-me to the 110 PCP. So close it is to the rifle that the magazines and filler probe, etc. are all interchangeable. In terms of manufacture, then this is quite likely to be just as expensive to machine as its larger counterpart, but simply uses a little bit less metal and polymer, so it's not a cheap thing to put together. It is 365mm or just under 14.5 inches long and tips the scales at 1.1 kilograms or a little over 2.4 pounds. So it's not a lightweight as such. This weight is of course without a silencer or sighting aid fitted. It is all black apart from the rather nice matching or contrasting, should I say, grey colour on the grip inserts. From the front then, the barrel is 247mm long and is cloaked in a polymer wrap. This has the front open sight on top, which is non-adjustable. This polymer, which I've already said, is very high quality, and it's evident all over this pistol, including the top Picatinny rail that is around 120mm long and ends at the rear adjustable open sights, but naturally gives you the option of a red dot or pistol scope, etc. if you prefer. Now, this rail should be more than long enough to fit a sighting aid of your choice. Anyone thinking they're going to fit a 4-24 by 56 Continental can pause this program, go outside, get your bumps felt, and then come back in and press play again. Below all this is the main body, including the side lever, which is exactly what you'd expect from a Weihrauch in terms of feel and quality. The cocking arm is, in theory, interchangeable. However, I would suggest if you are adamant you want it on the right hand side rather than the left, then I would strongly suggest you get that done from the factory and order yours pre-done rather than thinking you will have a go yourself. Also on the left hand side is the magazine release arm. That, to the uninitiated non-Weihrauch shooters, is a bit fiddly. To the regular Weihrauch shooters, it's pretty simple. Certainly loading the magazine up, it is probably the easiest in the business. It is a simple design and you get two of these 10 round magazines in the box. Oh, and the theory is this cannot be double loaded. That said, we've seen someone do it. How? I've no idea. I don't think we will ever find that one out. Microsoft probably don't have the computing power to figure it out themselves. The safety is also in this general vicinity and is on both sides, with up for fire and down for safe. It's worth mentioning that it is only operatable if the gun is cocked. And it is a manual one, not automatic. The trigger is really very nice and is a two-stage adjustable item with a polymer trigger blade. Below all this lot is that two-tone grip, which is ergonomic and very comfortable, with curves and recesses to fit your hand beautifully in either left or right-handed use. Now, one thing to mention here is the palm rest, which is very useful in holding the weight of the pistol stable in your hand, because this is quite a weighty item, and naturally a lot of this is forward of the grip. Then we have the air cylinder, which is a tiny 50cc item and has the regulator, gauge, filler port, etc. all built into this small and compact little system. Again, German efficiency, and even with its maximum 200 bar fill point, should be good for just over 100 shots in this, which is its just under 6 foot-pound form, which is quite remarkable really. The gauge is typical Weihrauch, colour-coded, bright and easily readable, but is out on the front. Not ideal, but easier in manufacturing, of course. Finally, there is another rail on the bottom for other toys should you need it. Now, fitting a silencer to this is not just a case of raiding your box of bits at home, because it does need a genuine HW44 silencer, because there is no 1/2" UNF thread. The silencer will set you back around £75 UK. Now, that's not crazy money, but you are restricted due to this purpose fitting. Power-wise, well, let's get this over the chronograph and check it out, shall we? This is, as I've said, the 177 caliber, so 8.44s are probably the order of the day, and with these on board it saw 542 feet per second, which is 5.51 foot-pounds or 7.47 joules. Then on to the heavier 10.6 grain, and it saw 467 feet per second, which is 5.13 foot-pounds or 6.96 joules. So it does seem to prefer the lighter pellets for both speed and power levels. At this point, it's really time to compare this to the AGT Manul before we get them both out on the range to test the accuracy. Well, the Manul is slightly smaller at 320mm or just over 12.5 inches and is a much lighter 810 grams. The difference may not sound a lot, but it is noticeable in the hand, even with the weight slightly more out the front. The one I have here is grey and black, but they do an all black version if you prefer. The front has the height adjustable open blade sight, which then runs back down the 190mm CZ barrel's top and turns into a Picatinny rail, which is shorter than the HW44's rail, but isn't polymer and still easily long enough to take most red dot sights you may want to fit. Again, to the rear of this is the adjustable open rear, which again is removable should you wish to. It's worth highlighting at this point that the main body, and indeed the main material this is made of, is alloy rather than the polymer of the Weihrauch, and yet it is still around 25% lighter. Below the vented barrel housing is the air cylinder, which is exactly the same 50cc capacity as the Weihrauch, and a similar setup of housing the filler port, air gauge and regulator. The real difference is the Manul is capable of 250 bar max fill pressure as opposed to the 200 bar of the Weihrauch, giving this a higher shot count capability. Again, the gauge is out at the noisy end, which is never ideal, but easier in the manufacturing process and then passed on to the customer in a more wallet-friendly price. Not that either of these can really be classed as budget. I do find the AGT gauge very clear with its black on white, if maybe a little small for my failing eyes. The twist dust cover is a nice idea, meaning no potentially loss of plugs. Maybe that's a bonus point for the Manul. Behind this cylinder is the trigger and trigger housing. This is a two-stage multi-adjustable trigger with an alloy broad trigger blade as opposed to the polymer Weihrauch's trigger. It is a really amazing trigger and just light enough straight out of the box, but you have the option on either of these to be able to personalise them. The grip on the Manul is less ergonomic by comparison to the 44. It is a simple AR-15 beaver-tail grip, but that does give you the option to change this with relative ease should you wish. The main difference with the AGT Manul is that magazine. Indeed, I don't think I've seen this style on anything else. It is fixed onto the pistol. That being said, you can remove it and replace it with a single shot tray, and it's a relatively straightforward process. This is likely to be the favoured option for the more serious target shooter maybe, who seem to prefer single shot trays. Filling the fixed 7-round magazine on this 177 caliber version, a 2.2 is available as well, just the same as with the Weihrauch. You need to pop in your chosen ammo into the magazine, filling as many in the top as you can get. Now, it looks a little tight. It's actually not that ridiculously difficult. You can get easily sort of 4 in there straight away, he says. There we go. And then turn it until you've come round to the rest of the open slots. Pop in the rest. It's difficult to do it the way I'm trying to do it for camera. But there you go. And then take it all the way around until it stops. Now, this is an anti-clockwise direction. Now, bear in mind that once you have loaded this up and pushed that super smooth rising side lever forwards and down, you've loaded your first round and it's live. This is the one thing you do need to remember about the Manul. No regular safety catch. Some people will get very upset about that, and others will simply like the idea that the side lever in the up position will keep it safe and act as a visual notification. So maybe it's just about getting used to a different safety system. I'll let you decide about that. The other thing to mention around the AGT is the ability to fit a silencer. This has a removable barrel insert, which requires a 7mm hex key, which Vector Air supply in the box. Unscrew this and replace with the threaded insert that again is supplied in the box. And then you can screw on your silencer. Well, you'll need a 14mm threaded silencer such as AGT's own, which will bring down the decibels greatly. But here is the irony. With an Eagle Vision adapter taking it down to 1/2" UNF, you can then fit a standard Weihrauch silencer and make this super quiet. So you can fit a standard Weihrauch silencer to the Manul, but not the HW44. Now my preference would be to fit the Weihrauch XLK to the Manul, but at the time of shooting that wasn't available, which is probably the quietest silencer we have found on the Manul. I believe Vector Air are trying to get the adapter changed from a 14mm one to a 1/2" UNF instead. Watch this space. So, what about power levels then? Well, this is the UK. So, as we've previously said, it has to be below 6 foot-pounds, and testing this over the chronograph with 8.44 grains, it saw 547 feet per second, which is 5.61 foot-pounds or 7.61 joules. Let's also drop in some heavy-weighted pellets to continue the comparison. And using the same 10.6 grain, it saw 498 feet per second, which is 5.84 foot-pounds or 7.92 joules. So slightly higher power output than the 44. But to be fair, that difference isn't even worth mentioning, and you probably never really notice it. I would go as far as to say that it is enough power for close-up dispatch work, but both are primarily aimed at target work. Let's get these two dressed up then and out on the range to see how they compare in the target work. I'm going to use a rather nice Vector Optics Frenzy Sol, and I'm going to fit it to them both and shoot out at 10 meters. But I am supremely confident you could push these two out to the best part of 30 meters. I know because I've done it before. Now, as always, it's the grouping we're interested in rather than my ability to zero a red dot and shoot my aim point out, leaving nothing left to aim at. Anyway, here goes. The Weihrauch 44. I better not say HW because I just wind people up at that. Anyway, there you go. The 44 from Weihrauch pistol. It really is top quality. I'm testing here two top draw guns, absolute top draw guns. This is the heavier of the two. The AGT Manu is much lighter in the hand, and I would argue that it probably feels a little bit better balance, but it's what you get used to, and there is nothing wrong with this because of that superb grip. I'm going to rest it to shoot it, just to take me out of the equation a little bit, and everybody's going to turn around and say you should do it freehand. Yeah, whatever. This is to try and take me out. We're testing the guns, not my ability. We're out at 10 meters. Let's give it a go, shall we? I have zeroed the red dot so that it is going to miss the bullseye. It's the grouping that I'm interested in. Nice action. Really nice, smooth action. From here I can't really see what the results are, but I've got a feeling they're pretty much going through the same hole. That's it. Let's go and have a look, shall we? Well, they're not far off the same hole. I don't think there is anything to be too upset about that. This is just using a red dot. There's no magnification, of course. Resting briefly on a bit of a wobbly table, but it's still resting, so it should be better. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's the HW44. Let's get the Manul out now, shall we? And see how it compares. Same thing, this time with the Manul. If I can ever stop shaking. Right, let's have a go. I'm noticeably shaking more with this one. The trigger is a little bit better, to be fair. Certainly suits me a little bit better, but either can be adjusted. That's your lot. Let's go and have a look. Pretty good. Pretty darn good, in fact. Still shaking though. Either of these is, I think the saying used to be there's a fag paper between them. There really is. It's just your individual style and what your preference is and everything else. That is noticeably lighter. And if you were shooting freehand, it would be less tiring perhaps than the 44 would. After saying that, they are both just sublimely accurate, if I could say that right without shivering. Superb. Absolutely superb. Yes, I've got the Frenzy Soul red dot on them both. I've actually used the same one, so there's no difference. I like either. I really do like them both. But that's it. They're accurate. Very accurate. Back to the studio. Well, what can I say? No one is going to be disappointed using either of these two. They are quite different to shoot, with the nice ergonomic grip on the HW44, but that extra weight to counter that. The super smooth and shorter action of the Manul side lever, but maybe some people will find it initially alien to have a fixed magazine and a non-standard safety system. It may be that you already own an HW110 rifle, that is, and want a matching pistol with all that interchangeability of the magazines. It could simply be the higher price of the Manul that forces your decision. Now, I said at the start, this isn't a budget test, so if you want to leave comments about the fact it's not budget, feel free. But you were warned at the start. Price-wise then, the Weihrauch is going to relieve you of around £815 UK, with the AGT Manul coming a little higher at £980 UK. To some people, that is enough for them to make their decision. To others, it's not a big enough gap to be such a deciding factor. These are two amazing pistols and well known for high quality manufacturers who make some excellent engineered airguns. Now, I have the experience of shooting both, and I can see reasons for having either in your collection. And with that experience, feel qualified to make a decision. Others, however, will make their decision without even trying them. But I can say you won't be disappointed, whichever you choose. Some will argue that I haven't given a definitive winner. But at the end of the day, that is a very subjective thing. Me, I like the lighter weight and design of the AGT, but I wouldn't call anyone for having the Weihrauch, which is an excellent pistol. Feel free to let me know in the comments which you would choose. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, please give us the old thumbs up, subscribe, click the old alarm notification bell, and of course visit the AAR On Air website for competitions, merch and much more. As always, a big thank you to Vector Air for getting hold of these two for me to review for you. That's it. Stay safe and shoot safe, and hopefully I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.